Ann Gafkin with WomenTalkSports.com, and we are here with one of the best female distance runners in America, Jenny Simpson, and her coach, Juli Benson, who is a world-class runner herself and now has established herself as a successful collegiate and professional coach. We're in Des Moines at the headquarters hotel for the Drake Relays, where Jenny will be racing the 1,500 meters tomorrow, and Juli will be tending to both her Air Force athletes and Jenny. Ladies, what brings you to the Drake Relays over the other major meets this weekend like Penn and Peyton?
Well, Drake Relays is a fun thing for me to come to. A lot of my family's from Iowa. I was born in Webster City, so I've never run the relays before, and I think it's, I've been here for NCAAs before, but coming to Drake is special for me just because it's Iowa.
Absolutely, and for you, it's a great race for your team, or a great meet for your team.
Well, it is, and then also it's good, especially this year, because this is where the NCAAs will be held. So it's always good to get a sneak peek at what the guys can have in store should they make it here.
Of course, of course. Now, for some reason or another, female professional coaches are very rare. Any thoughts onto why that is, Juli? And also, tell us kind of how you got to the point where you're at.
I think the easy answer is just because it is very time-consuming. Especially if you do the collegiate side and the post-collegiate side, because it's pretty much year-round. And a lot of women at my age have kids, and that's I think that's quite a task to try to handle all those areas.
Yeah.
And so I don't have children of my own. I do have a stepdaughter, and fortunately we're in a position where she can come to a lot of meets, so I get to see her quite a bit while I'm doing my job, and she loves the athletes, so that's great, Jenny especially. And, this is just my passion, and, I think, just to kind of summarize it, I like to help athletes reach their goals and get what they want. So it's just very satisfying for me. And, I tell the kids that I do this because I made a lot of mistakes in my own career, and I like to try to help athletes, prevent them from making the same mistakes that I made.
Yeah, that's great. That's so important. I know you have a dog that's a track dog as well.
I do, yes. Annabelle, she comes to some practices, but yeah, it's nice to come home to a dog who doesn't want to talk about running.
For sure, and can't talk about running.
Yeah, exactly.
Jenny, what are your favorite things about having Juli as a coach?
Well, you speak to having a female coach is really unusual, but it's so nice, somebody that you can go to the track with and do your workout and be very serious and be very professional, and then on the ride home talk about the royal wedding. And it's not like a strange thing. So there are social aspects to it that I think are really special, because I think we have a good friendship even outside of just the track, and I think that helps our communication, and maybe some of those more difficult or intimate moments when you don't maybe have your best performance. Or I was hurt last year and took some time off, and there's a lot of emotional and stressful things you go through when you're doing that, that I think are special to have a friendship in addition to just a professional relationship. So it's really nice to have that with Juli.
Absolutely. I think a lot of people can attest to having that relationship just with friends and their teammates, but to be able to have it with your coach is another level.
Yeah.
Juli, having competed at the professional level yourself and having some big successes as well as some seasons where you struggled, what do you think is at the core of an athlete's success? What's most paramount to an athlete's success?
I think there's two things. One is the consistency in your training and staying healthy and having uninterrupted training. I think is a huge thing and a pretty basic thing. And then I think we could talk about this for hours, but just simply believing in yourself and believing in what you're doing and being able to go to the starting line just completely confident in what you're capable of doing. I think it's those two simple things can make for some great performances on the track.
And that's something an athlete really has to work on. You can't bottle it. You can write workouts on paper, but how do you get that belief in yourself? Jenny, how do you do that? Because you're someone who's been very, very consistent. I know you dealt with your first major injury last year, but your collegiate progression was steady. It was unbelievable. It was unprecedented, and you really just seem to always have a level head, a methodical approach. Where does that come from?
I think that it's a little bit counterintuitive. A lot of people want to say, and there are elements of it that you need to be down to earth and humble, but I think sometimes what sets some people that half step ahead is that you have to acknowledge the vanity of this career and this sport. And you have to acknowledge that it is very selfish, and you do have to put yourself first. And I think when you can acknowledge that and balance that with real life, and know that this weekend is about work, it is about putting myself first and making sure that I'm, in the state of mind and in the state of physical fitness that I need to be, and you just acknowledge that, and then when you're at home in the middle of the week, you kind of flip that and maybe, you know, sacrifice other things for your sport, for your normal life. I think that balance is really important if you decide to do this after college.
Absolutely. And speaking of after college, it seemed that you were very analytical and methodical, just like you are with your running, and choosing your agent and choosing your sponsor and choosing your coach. And I would like you to just kind of speak to the athletes that are going to do that for the first time this year. What is it like to navigate that landscape that you haven't navigated before, and how did you accomplish it so well?
I was really tedious about it in some ways, and I think that maybe it was a little bit long of a process for some people, but I don't regret 1 second taking my time, you know, taking a big deep breath after college and making sure that step by step that I was making this decision for myself. Part of, like I said before, acknowledging the vanity of what the sport, you know, that is in the sport, is knowing that you're doing this for yourself. And so there are other things that can motivate you, but there has to be something intrinsically that you're doing for yourself. And so I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that moving forward, that this career is something that I've built with really well-guided decisions, but they were my decisions. So I don't regret that, even though it was kind of a long process. But to people that are stepping into it, I think my biggest piece of advice is that a year later, you're always going to say, I wish I would have known, you know, when I was going through it, you know, certain things or little tidbits you pick up. But if you just take your time and be true to yourself, that's the most you can ask of yourself.
Absolutely. And, you know, I know that you talk about how important it is to remember that this is about you and you have to do what's best for you. But I also know that part of your decision with selecting New Balance had to do with their community outreach.
Yeah.
And the do-gooding aspects of their company. And why is that so important to you? And I know that you also did some work with them and the community while you were injured, so talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, that's part of kind of my balance of allowing certain elements of my life to be kind of selfish, you know. It's very satisfying for me and very fulfilling to be able to reach out to other people. The community involvement is important. Part of my story is that when I was in high school, I literally made it to meets by people's encouragement and them helping us out, and a lot of community involvement, and you know, a lot of you know, people donated flights, you know, for my coach to be able to go to a meet to be there with me. So it was stuff like that I feel like if it wasn't for a good community base, I wouldn't have been here. So I really embrace the opportunity to give back now. Yeah,
that's fantastic. Now for both of you, if you could have any superpower, what would it be? Julie, you're on the spot first.
I think probably just the ability to see into the future, because, you know, I'm fortunate to work with a very talented athlete, both mentally and physically, and I want to see how this all turns out, see how fast she actually runs.
Yeah, I do too. Jenny, what about you?
If super speed can't be my superpower, we're going to knock that out.
Wait. You can't choose one you already have.
Thanks. Then it would definitely be the ability to stretch really far. Because when I'm lying in bed and I'm totally lazy and I don't want to move, there are so many times that I wish that I could just like reach something without just like getting up and getting it. So if I could have any superpower, it'd be either like
Stretch Armstrong.
Yeah, it'd either be stretching or it would be like levitation, so I can make things come to me while I'm just laying there vegging out, recovering.
Little do people know, distance runners are actually pretty lazy in their regular life. We don't want to have to go upstairs.
They're the ones who organize their college schedule, so they, from the bus stop, you kind of work your way towards practice, so you have to walk as little as possible.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so levitation and Stretch Armstrong. Ladies, thank you for talking with us today, and good luck on the Blue Oval tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.